back to my channel. Today we are doing another deity spotlight. This spotlight was voted on by my channel members, so they got to decide which deity we did next, and they voted for Isis. So if you want to have the opportunity to decide which deity I spotlight next, become a member of my channel, hit that join button down below, and you can vote in the members only polls. So let's get into the video. I say at the beginning of this video, goddess of all, because Isis is the most important goddess in ancient Egypt. She was, in some ways, the most important deity overall, regardless of god or goddess. But she is typically thought of mainly as a goddess of healing, a goddess of magic, and a goddess of motherhood and children. She's the goddess of pharaohs. She was charged with protecting the pharaoh, both in life and death. She was married to her brother, Osiris, and it is said that they were in love even in the womb. And I'll share a quick story of Isis and Osiris. This is a story that I also shared in my video about Anubis, as it has to do with Anubis also, so you can check that video out also about Anubis if you're interested. But this story is of when Osiris was tricked and murdered by Set, who is kind of the version of the devil in ancient Egyptian mythology. He's this symbol of chaos. Set tricked Osiris into getting into a box that he had perfectly made for him to fit Osiris's body. He trapped him in the box, and then he scattered his body parts. There are different versions of this story where things are a little bit different, but the one I'm telling is where he scattered his body parts, and Isis, loving her husband very, very much, she decided to search for these body parts and put him back together to find Osiris and bring him back to life. So she searches and searches. In some versions, she finds pieces here and there. In other versions, she finds his body in a tree. But the only piece that Isis can't find is Osiris's phallus, so she creates him one. Using her magic, she creates Osiris a new phallus. So this is another example of Isis's strong healing powers and also strong magical powers. Isis is the daughter of Geb and Nut. Geb is the god of the earth, and Nut is the goddess of the sky. Isis's siblings are Osiris, her brother and her husband. Set is also their brother, and Nephthys. Isis's only son is Horus. Horus is the god of war and of the sky. Isis's origins within ancient Egyptian history are unknown. Most ancient Egyptian deities, and if you've watched my previous videos where I talk about an ancient Egyptian deity, they almost always have a city or a temple or a place that is their hub, where their main place of worship is, or where the people who live there mainly worship them. Isis doesn't really have that. She was popular everywhere, and historians and archaeologists have never been able to discern exactly where Isis originated. But another example of how popular and important Isis is that in the pyramid texts, she's mentioned over 80 times. And in these mentionings, she's helping the pharaoh, assisting the pharaoh, protecting the pharaoh. And as time went on, in later periods of Egyptian history, Isis went from just being a protector of the pharaoh to being a protector more so of all citizens, not just the pharaoh like she had been previously. Also in these later periods of Egyptian history, her popularity and her power grew to the point where she was more important than her husband Osiris. Now talking more about Isis as a motherly figure and as a goddess of birth, children, and motherhood, there is a story with Isis and her only son, Horus, where she is protecting him. While Isis was carrying Horus, and after Horus was born in that early time of Horus's life when he was a baby, Set was trying to kill Horus, trying to bring harm to Horus. So Isis had to do a lot to protect her son, her newborn son. And there's a story of Isis and the 7 scorpions. And I will tell a rough version of the story that I know. Again, with mythology, there are different versions. But the story goes that there was a woman in rags carrying a newborn baby, and she was accompanied by 7 scorpions. And this woman went to the nearest village to seek refuge, food, shelter, help for herself and her baby. She went up to this rich person's house, this amazing mansion, and asked for assistance. And the woman saw her rags and saw her clothing and saw her filthiness and turned her away. She refused to help her. So then Isis, seeing that this woman wasn't going to help her, continued into the village, where she found a smaller cottage where the woman was much kinder and took pity on her, brought her in, and helped her. Gave her a meal and a bed. So Isis is here in this village hiding from her brother Set, trying to protect her newborn baby Horus, pretending to be this poor woman because she's trying to hide from her brother Set. And the reason that Isis is flanked by these 7 scorpions is because the goddess Serket, she's the goddess of venomous creatures, gave these scorpions to Isis to help protect her and her son. While Isis and Horus are being protected in this small cottage by this nice woman, the scorpions are getting angrier and angrier about that rich woman who refused to help Isis. So they decide to exact revenge. They all give their venom to one of the scorpions, so he's super venomous, pumped up with all this venom from all these scorpions, and he goes back to this woman's home. The scorpion crawls under the door, and the first person he finds is this rich woman's son. And the scorpion gives the sting to this rich woman's son. Isis, back in the cottage, and the woman who's taking care of her, whose home it is that she's staying in, are awoken by this screaming, this wailing of pain. And they run to see what had happened. And they see the mother of this child, the woman who had refused to help Isis, running through the street, weeping, asking for help, saying that something's wrong with her son. Isis, understanding what her scorpions had done, runs to help this boy, and she recites a powerful spell to get rid of the venom from his body and neutralize it so that he can live. And in this spell, she is reciting powerful names of the scorpions whose poison is acting in this person's body, trying to kill him. So as she names each scorpion and says, this scorpion's venom shall not harm, this scorpion's venom shall not harm, reciting those names, it loses its power. The child lives. Isis saves him, and the woman weeps and is immediately very apologetic to Isis and regrets what she had done. So that is a story not only of Isis's strong healing powers, her strong sense of motherhood, her strong sense of protecting children, but also her magical powers. Isis is known as the knower of names, and her magic is proof that the strongest power is in knowing the name of something, being able to name it and identify it, and it loses its power when you say its name aloud. Isis is also seen as the mother of the pharaoh. The pyramid texts say specifically that the pharaoh drinks the milk of Isis. And the ancient Egyptian writing for the name Isis is a throne or a seat. This is thought to mean that Isis's name originally meant the power of the throne. Isis is also a cosmic goddess. She wasn't originally, but as she got more important throughout history, she became associated with the cosmos. Plutarch deemed her a moon goddess, and she is closely associated with the star Sirius. And in hymns dedicated to Isis, she is often said to have cosmic powers. And she is also the lady of heaven, earth, and the netherworld, and she is said to have brought them all into existence. And this is a quote of Isis's that I will read. I separated the earth from the heaven. I showed the paths of the stars. I regulated the course of the sun and the moon. Isis, along with her sister Nephthys, is also seen as the archetypal image of a mourning woman. Both of these goddesses, Nephthys and Isis, are associated with the bird of prey called kite. And this bird has a very shrill cry that is often associated or sounds like the wails of a crying woman, a mourning woman, a grieving woman. And this bird is a scavenging bird, so again associated to death. This bird is the form that Isis took when she was searching for her husband Osiris after Set had dismembered him and scattered the parts, or in the other version, after Set had hidden Osiris's body in a tree. And related to mourning and death, hello Giles, Isis is associated with protecting the deceased. So she's a very strong protector. She protects the pharaoh, she protects all people, nobles, commoners, she protects the dead, and she protects the living. She protects children, she protects adults. She's got a very strong sense of protection. Isis is usually depicted as a woman wearing a long sheath dress and crowned with the hieroglyphic sign for throne. Or starting in the 18th dynasty, you'd see her depicted with horns and the solar disk from the goddess Hathor. She is frequently seen holding the sistrum rattle, wearing a Menat necklace, and or the ankh or the papyrus staff. She's depicted as standing straight, Sometimes she is seen kneeling with her hand on the Shen, which is an eternity sign, or shown as a mourner with her hands over her face. Often her hands are outstretched and placed around the figure Osiris to symbolize her protection of him. And sometimes her arms are winged. That's kind of the most popular image of Isis that we have today in our modern society. At least to me, that was the first way I ever saw Isis, as that winged woman. So again, she can be represented as that bird, the kite, or she can be represented as a scorpion because of that story, Isis and the Seven Scorpions. She can also be seen represented as a sow. She can also be represented as a tree. At the tomb of Tutmosis III in the Valley of the Kings, she is depicted as a tree, nursing the pharaoh from her branches. Again, Isis was very important all throughout Egypt and all throughout time, building with importance and popularity as time went on. But Isis also has temples built in Rome and in Greece, and she continued to be worshipped long after most of the world was converted to Christianity or forms of Christianity. So let's talk a bit about working with Isis. So immediately we know from learning about Isis that we can do any kind of protection work with Isis. There's so much cat hair floating in the air, I feel like you have to be able to see it on camera. But any protection work is great to do with Isis. Protection for yourself, protection for your home, protection for your loved ones, protection for children especially. She's a very strong protector of babies, children, pregnant women, babies in the womb. So that is a great thing to do with Isis, any kind of protection work. Also any healing work. If you perform healings on other people, you can call in Isis to help you healing yourself, or even doing shadow work as a means of healing. Isis can aid with that. Another thing, we talked about names, the power of a name. You can do with Isis a ceremony to give yourself a magical name. This name would be secret. This name would be between you and Isis and nobody else. And you could have Isis give you this name, or maybe there's a name that you already have in mind that feels correct for you to be your magical name. You can do a ceremony with Isis to solidify that this is your real magical name, and that only people who know your magical name can do magic on you or to you. So it's a very strong way to both protect yourself and connect yourself to Isis by giving the two of you that little secret between the two of you that your real name is, and that's what you do your magic under. Talking again about how strong Isis's magic and spell work is. Any spell can be amplified with Isis's help. So if you do spell work, if you're a witch, working with Isis can greatly enhance your practice. You can call on her to intensify any spell that you work on, no matter what the spell is for. I also find that Isis is very helpful in writing your own spells, as that's kind of what she would do. She knew all the spells, and she can help you to create your own spells. Any motherly work, so if you're working on having a baby, maybe you have young children, or even if you have teenagers or kids who are out of the house now, she can help to protect them, protect you, watch over them when you're not with them, keep them healthy and safe. Anything having to do with your kids, she's a great deity to work with. I also feel that for kids, she's a great deity to work with. If you have a kid who sees your magical practice and wants to work with the deity themselves, Isis can be a great one to start with because she's very motherly, very loving, and very protective. She can also take the place of a mother for you. If you are someone who lost their mother, has never had a mother in their life, needs a motherly figure for whatever reason, you can call on her to be present for you in that way. Isis is also incredibly helpful when it comes to finding lost objects and lost people. So if you've lost something, even if it's something intangible, something that you can't touch, like maybe you've lost your joy, you've lost your will to live, you've lost your love of life, you've lost your hope for the future, she can help you find these things, but she can also help you find physical objects. Maybe you've lost your keys. Maybe you've lost your wallet. She can find things. Remember that story of her searching for Osiris and finding him. So she can help you find lost things. So that is all about the goddess Isis. I hope you all enjoy working with her if you begin working with her. She is a very strong female figure. She's got incredible energy to be in her presence, and she is so helpful in so many areas of witchcraft, magic, healing, protection so much. She can really do anything. That's why she's so powerful and so important in ancient Egyptian mythology. And if you already work with her, then share down below in the comments what your relationship with Isis is like and what you like to do with her. Remember, if you want to be a member of my channel and vote to decide which deity I do next, you can hit that join button down below and become a member of my channel. Thank you so much to those of you that are members of my channel already. Your support is so helpful, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you soon. Blessed be.